Welcome to today's webinar. We have Mr. Jayatirtha with us, and he is going to present on today's webinar on risk management and risk assessment techniques. So I think it's a wonderful motto what he has written, being proactive than reactive. So I think we all have to be proactive by looking at the current business scenarios than being reactive. And let's go through Mr. Jayatirtha and see what all things he has to tell us today. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Jayatirtha.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mr. Prashant. Once again, good afternoon to all of you. Hope I'm audible to all of you. So this particular next 1 hour, we will be discussing on the risk management and risk assessment techniques, being proactive rather than reactive. My name is Jayatirtha GR, basically an engineer, now close to more than 36 years of experience in various industry sector. As far as certification business is concerned, now it is close to more than 20 years, almost 2 decades I'm in this profession. So I was with several organizations, starting with KPMG in this certification business. Then I moved over to another certification body as an associate director. Then I was with another certification body as product head for IT and ITS. Joined BSI India close to 2.5 years back. My designation here is general manager and head risk. So I will take you through the information on the risk management and risk assessment techniques. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, this next 1 hour, it will be an interactive session. You are welcome to use the chat screen for any queries and comments during this presentation. I will answer all your questions as soon as possible. Since this is a webinar, many people are in this particular session. I request all of you to mute your audio so that our disturbance can be avoided. I request all of you, and we will have a question and answer session after the presentation. Yeah. So we are having 2 parts to this presentation. One is risk management guidelines. The other one is risk management, risk assessment techniques, followed by question and answer session. So before we embark on this journey of understanding the risk management and the risk assessment techniques, we should be aware what is the risk all about, the definition of it. Risk, it is an effect of uncertainty on objectives. And also other definition like a risk is a potential event or problem that negatively affects the achievement of A, the vision, the mission, the goals, and targets of any company or an organization. And having understood what is risk all about, risk may happen or may not happen at all. But still it is a prevention-oriented thinking. And another definition could be risk is the possibility of an event occurring that will have an impact on the achievement of the objective. It means as an organization, we'll have many objectives listed, and some of the event do occur that will have an impact of not achieving these objectives. Yep. And risk is also, we can put a formula, it's a very simple formula. It is impact into probability. Yeah. So what are the risk examples? Let us understand what are these examples all about. One is there may be a natural disaster That means a lot of thunderstorm lead to the flooding of the entire city, or there may be an earthquake. So these are some of the natural disaster and economic risk. Yeah, some of the risks are related to the finance, raw material scarcity for any process, especially manufacturing or otherwise. You need input raw materials, right? If the raw material itself is not available, you cannot do anything. Yeah, and energy scarcity. You need to convert from input to the process to an output of the process. You need energy, but energy is not available. So several other examples could be risk of damage and loss of assets, exchange rate fluctuation, cyber attacks. Then another risk could be the competition in the business and pandemic. I think all companies world over are undergoing this pandemic situation. I think this COVID-19 impacted many organizations multifold. Yeah. Then other international regulatory, then government policy also may change. These are some of the risk examples external to the organization. And what are the other risk example internal to the organization? One is, of course, operational risk, then employee related risk, because nowadays the technology has all evolved and very less dependency on individuals, and nobody is indispensable in this world. But nevertheless, some of the key people will have their own unique competency levels. If that particular leaves the organization, that could be a risk to the organization activity. Security breaches and data loss, another internal to the organization risk example. System failures, environmental impact. So these are the some of the risk examples internal to the organization. So on the risk, who said what? In fact, Peter Drucker, the well-known person world over, once said, while it is futile to try to eliminate the risk and questionable to try to minimize it, but it is essential that the risk taken be the right risk. That is very important. In fact, just to take an example again on COVID-19, nobody said this particular pandemic risk going to happen and the impact will be so huge. I still remember while I was undergoing a training on business continuity in one of the city, that particular city a decade back undergone some health issue for the various citizens of that particular city on some swine flu. But having noted this, nobody has taken so seriously. A pandemic also can create a havoc, what we are all undergoing today. So what Peter Drucker said, the risk taken to be the right risk. Yeah. Then we also have one more, what you call saying here. If you don't actively attack the risk, they will actively attack you. This is termed by Tom Gill. Yeah. So, taking note of it, so do we have any answer to overcome these risks? Yes, we do have. The ISO is having an answer for that. What is ISO? I think we all know. It is International Organization for Standardization. So they have two well-known standards. One is ISO 31000 2018 version, and the other one is ISO 31010 2019. So risk management plays a vital role in organization risk management initiatives. So these two standards, what it talks about, the ISO 31000 2018, it is a guideline standard, risk management guideline standard. This is a standard provides guideline on managing risk faced by any organization, whether it be a small organization of 10 people or a very big organization of, let us say, 10 lakh people, yeah, or 1 million people. Another standard, of course, it is the risk assessment technique. ISO 31010 is the latest version. Last year, it was released. This international standard is a supporting standard for the guideline standard and provides guidance on selection and application of systematic techniques for risk assessment. So that means these two standards really help any organization to overcome any risk which will have an impact on the achievement of the objectives of the organization. We'll understand more about, to begin with, ISO 31000. Yeah, it is a guideline standard, as the name itself says. The scope of the standard, it provides guidelines in managing risk customized to any organization. I think we should be able to note the word here, customization. I will talk about it later, what it is, customization. And it follows a common approach. It covers the entire life cycle for organizational risk management. And it applies to all levels and all functions in the organization. Yeah, and it will also help the organization to arrive at the decision making. So ISO 31000 2018 version, this particular risk management is based on one, the principles, okay, the framework and the process. So what are the principles all about? It creates value and protection for the organization activities in achieving the objectives of the organization. The framework, it talks about how the leadership has to commit to the risk management activities in any organization, and how to implement the risk management in any organization is mentioned in the risk management process. You know, this standard 31000 2018 helps to create and protect value in any organization by managing risk, making decisions, setting and achieving objectives, and improving the performance. We all know any organization, for that matter, irrespective of the type and size, have so many external and internal factors. We call it as internal issues and external issues, and it influences the decision making to achieve the objectives. So if you ask me, risk management, is it a one-time job? No, it is a iterative process. It assists in setting the strategy, then achieving objectives and making informed decisions. So we talked about the principles, right? The previous slide talks about risk management is based on principles. So what are these principles we are talking about? It creates value and it protects the value for the organization, right? So we'll understand what are these 8 principles all about. It is integrated, it is structured, it is customized, and it is inclusive, it is dynamic in nature, it is best available information, human and cultural factors are continual improvement. So that's good to know what are these principles all about. It is integrated. That means the risk management is an integral part of all organization activities. That means as an organization, it performs some service delivery to their client. The risk management will always be integrated. It is embedded. First, the organization will embrace, then it gets embedded in the organization activity. It cannot be like a railway parallel line. Organization activity one line and risk management activity another line. No, it has to get embedded. Yeah, it is a structured activity. That means it is contributes to the consistent and comparable results. That is customized. It is not that no two organizations will have same risk management process or activity. It is totally different, and this particular customization has to happen. It is proportionate to the organization on external and internal issues. This we have to keep it in mind. Yeah, customization and inclusive. It involves various stakeholders to make sure the results will relate in improving the awareness and inform risk management to various stakeholders. And dynamic, we all know the risk will emerge, or it will change, or it may disappear, right? So the risk management activity is always a dynamic in nature because the internal or external context changes, right? Yeah. Risk management anticipates, detects, and acknowledges a response to these changes. Yeah. So we understood what is all about dynamic. Best available information. You know, whenever we take any decision in any organization, we always bank on historical information. Just to make it very simple in nature, the incidents. All right. So these incidents will always be an input to the organization risk management activity, so that all the information what is already available in the organization helps to improve the organization processes within the organization. Yeah, human and cultural factors. Yeah, human behavior and cultural culture significantly influences all aspects of risk management at each level and stage. That means we understood this risk management make sure that everybody, all functions, all levels in the organization has to be aware, made aware of the importance of the risk management, and they have to contribute in fulfilling the risk management activity in the organization. And continual improvement. Risk management is continually improved through learning and experience. That means the standard is revolving around these 8 principles in creating value and protecting value of the organization. And what the process and framework aligned to the principles talks about. We understood about the principles, and it is closely related to the framework and the process in any organization. Yeah. And on the right hand side, you can see the risk management process. On the left hand side, you can see the framework, right? So we'll understand more about the overview of the risk management framework. So this risk management framework overview is to assist the organization in integrating risk management into significant activities and functions in any organization. So can it happen on its own? No, never. It has to have a support from stakeholders, particularly the top management. This is very important. And framework development encompasses integrating. You can see integration, their design, the implementation, the evaluation, and improving the risk management process across the organization. The organization should evaluate its existing risk management practices. Just because the risk management standard is released as 2018 last year, or even previous to this in the year 2009, you mean to say that organization does not have any risk management activities? They do have, but maybe in an ad hoc manner. This ISO 31000 standard will make it as a structured approach to any organization, and it will help the organization customize to their own organization activity. Yeah. So customization is a very, very important thing. We should make a note of it. That is one of the principles of the risk management. Then governance and top management. So leadership and commitment. As we discussed in the previous slide, top management should ensure that the risk management is integrated into all organization activity and should demonstrate leadership and commitment. By how? How they have to demonstrate? First of all, they have to come up with a policy, a risk management policy. So how they will do it? It is like through communication and consultation. They have to not only communicate to the people, they should also make sure they have to be empathizing with the people to take the input on this particular policy commitment from the top and implement the risk management in the organization. So this particular governance will help to align the risk management with the objectives, strategy, and culture of the organization. And it is equally important the leadership has to assign a team and authorize the team and make some of the people in the organization or all of the people in the organization responsible in align towards risk management implementation in the organization, and they have to be made accountable in implementation of the risk management. Yeah, and we have to make sure that the risks are appropriate in line with the external issues and internal issues of the organization. Yeah. So how to integrate? So we understood in the beginning of the discussion just now, integration is one of the principles of risk management, right? And how to do it? The risk management should encompass all parts of the organization culture, point number one. Point number two, the governance provides direction and control, and the management translates governance into strategy and part of and not separate from the purpose. Any organization will always have a purpose, and risk management should be a part of that particular purpose in any organization. Yeah, the structures differ depending upon the organization purpose, goals, and complexity and competency as well. As we discussed, one of the principles is the customization, right? So similarly, the risk have to be customized to any organization, right? Then management structure translate governance direction into the strategy, and associated objectives required to achieve desired levels of sustainable performance. I am repeating the word sustainable performance. You might have done very good, that is the last year or last half yearly performance. Because of some risk happening in the organization, it may alter the entire situation because the risk management is not integrated into your day-to-day activities of the organization. Yeah. So it is always important integrating risk management into your organization, which is dynamic in nature and iterative process, and should be customized to the organization needs and culture, right? The risk management should be a part of and not separate from the organization purpose and governance that we discussed just now, right? So having understood that, we will also take note of what we have understood till now, right? A small quiz. We understood the risk management has to be supported by the top management commitment, right? So who is responsible for managing the risk in any organization? Is it top management, or is it risk officer, or is it risk owner, or everyone in the organization? We'll just go for a small poll. I request Prashant to conduct this particular poll. Go to Mr. Prashant, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Jayatirtha. So the poll is going to be on everybody's screen in a few moments. May I request everyone to help us in understanding exactly what you are looking for in this. So the poll is already there on your screen. may I request everyone to participate in as many numbers as possible so that it will be easier for Mr. Jayatita to help us further in this webinar and how risk management can help us. I can see only 68% or 70% people have voted so far. Okay, right now 82%. We'll just get 15 seconds more before we'll close it. Okay, so we are going to close the poll. As of now, only 83% have voted. Out of that, 71% think that everyone is responsible for managing risk in an organization. Back to you, Mr. Jayatita.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Prashant. Thanks to all of you for participating in this poll. I think the correct answer is everyone. Everyone, it is everybody's responsibility to manage risk in any organization. So why? Because the class number 5.3 of ISO 31000 of 2018 says everybody is responsible in the organization. The top management is committed for giving all the necessary resources, and they will demonstrate the commitment through the policy, and they will also monitor. But the responsibility lies with everybody. What about risk officer? Management has identified a person to oversee the implementation in the organization, whether the risk management is embedded. Then a risk owner will always look into that. It is accountable point of contact for a risk or for any department or function. So hence, it is equally important that everybody in the organization should contribute for managing risk in any organization. Thanks to everybody for participating in this poll. So designing the risk management framework, how to design? One is understanding the organization and its context. You know, we discussed in the beginning of this meeting, any organization will always have some internal issues, external issues, right? And the risk, whatever that is identified in the organization, should be in line with various contexts or issues or maybe some factors. So what are the factors? Some are external to the organization, some of them are internal to the organization. Yeah. What are the external to the organization? One is maybe social or cultural or political or legal, and of course regulatory. Then the environmental factors. Maybe it is due to international level, or maybe national level, or regional level, or even in local level, right? So what about regional factors? One is vision, then mission and values, and strategy, then contractual relationship with other third-party suppliers, maybe, then interdependence and interconnections, right? So when you are devising or designing a particular risk management framework in the organization, you have to take into account the external and internal context, the commitment, the resources, and implementation plan. Yeah. So how to implement the action plan? One is developing a plan, including time and resources. Then identifying organization processes, including decision making, modifying and aligning processes where necessary, ensuring organizational arrangements for risk management are understood and practiced. Yeah, successful implementation of the framework requires the engagement and awareness in the stakeholders. So as we discussed in the morning, I mean, just the beginning of this discussion, what I'm trying to say here is the consultation, right? The communication and consultation, these are the two important parameters that is discussed in ISO 31000:2018. It is not important only to communicate. It is equally important to empathize with the people so that you take the feedback from various personnel in the organization and to make sure that should be taken into confidence when you do a comprehensive implementation in the organization. Yeah. So performance evaluation, that means we have designed based on internal and external context, then we have implemented. Right? Now we have to check whether it has been embedded in the organization. So measure risk management framework performance, determine suitability to achieve objectives, then risk indicators, and what are the execution plans. Right? So it is equally important once you implement where we stand. That's where the evaluation comes into picture. In order to evaluate the effectiveness of the risk management framework, the organization should periodically measure the risk management framework performance against what? Against what? First is the performance objective. The second one is the purpose. The third one is the implementation plans. The fourth one is the indicators. And fifth one is the expected behavior. And determine whether it remains suitable to support achieving the objectives of the organization. How do you evaluate? Maybe one of the tools could be internal audit. Yeah, or even an external audit will also help to check whether the implementation is very comprehensive in nature in any organization based on what is given by the top management with respect to the policy and through the commitment demonstrated by the top management. So the next activity in the framework is continual improvement. Continually monitor and adopt the framework. Yeah, the organization should continually monitor and adopt the risk management. Right, the organization should continually improve one, the suitability, the adequacy, and the effectiveness of the risk management and the way the risk management process is integrated. Yeah. And as relevant gaps or improvement opportunities are identified, the organization should develop plans and tasks and assign them to those accountable for implementation. And what we discussed, the risk management is always, one of the principles is dynamic in nature. It cannot be static. Because whenever you have developed the framework, you implement the framework, then you check, evaluate, then you also come across certain incident. Taking input to these incidents, you have to go back again and look at the context, then it has to be continued to improve. That means it seconds the thought process, what is mentioned in the standard, it has to be dynamic in nature. So, having understood some of the aspects of the risk management, one is the principle, the framework, and the process. We will also understand what is the purpose of the risk management. Before this, I would like to mention the process comprises of, before going for this particular poll, I would like to go back here. Yeah, the process on the right side, one is the communication and consultation. We understood it is not important, only important to communicate. It is equally important to consult, empathize with the people to take the feedback, right? Then identify the scope, context, and criteria. Then risk assessment. So what are the components of the risk assessment? Risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation, and risk treatment. Then monitor and review, then record and a report. So having understood the principle, having understood the framework, having understood the process, we will also look at a small goal just to understand what is the purpose of the risk management. Is it elimination of the risk, or control of emerging risk, or creation and protection of value, or prevention of likelihood of an event? So I request Prashant just to help the people to give their answer to the polling so that we'll understand whether they could able to get to know what is the purpose of this risk management. Over to Mr. Prashant, please.
So the poll is already on, and everybody can see that in their screen. So we have 33% of people who have voted so far. We are giving 30 seconds more for the poll. Only 65% have voted. May I request everyone to participate in as many number as possible. Okay, so we are closing the poll as of now. Right now, 48% thinks that prevention of likelihood of an event is the purpose of risk management, which is followed by control of emerging risk. The other two, which is elimination of risk, we got only 7%, and 20% people think that creation and protection of value is the purpose of risk management. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Prashant. And thanks to all of you for having participated in this particular polling. I think we understood beginning of the discussion. Class number 4 is a principle, right? The purpose of the risk management is the creation and protection of the value. That means, as an organization, have objectives and have a vision and have a mission, and also have to make sure have to improve the performance, encourages innovation, and have to fulfill what have committed to the stakeholder or board or chairman. So that means it is creation and protection of the value, right? We cannot eliminate the risk. We are all understood. We cannot eliminate the risk. And the creation and product, the ultimate objective is to what? Have certain objective, have the purpose, have my resources. I want to protect, and in the process, I want to create. So the purpose of the risk management is the creation and production of the value of the organization. That is class number 4 of ISO 31000:2018 standard. Thank you very much for participating. Now, so having understood a little bit of 31000, ISO 31000:2018, we'll also look at how this ISO 31010 2019 talks about. Yeah, the standard is guidance on the selection and application of techniques for assessing risk in a wide range of situations, right? Yes. So we will understand what is this ISO 31010 all about. It complements ISO 31000. So that means ISO 31000:2018 is a risk management guideline standard, whereas ISO 31010 is for providing guidance on the selection and application of techniques. So that means ISO 31010 complements ISO 31000. That is point number 1. It describes It describes the process to be followed when assessing the particular risk. It introduces a range of risk techniques. We'll understand going forward what are the techniques. I quoted some few techniques also in the following presentation. Then it describes the strengths and limitation of the different techniques used. Then it compares options and opportunities. Yeah, it's a beautiful standard, ISO 31010. Then, in addition to that, it provides guidance on the selection and application of the techniques. The techniques are used to assist in making decisions where there is uncertainty. A risk assessment undertaken is varying degrees of depth and detail by using one or many methods ranging from simple to the complex scenarios. The form of assessment and its output should be consistent with the risk criteria. Yeah. So we will understand more about it. So once we have understood what is ISO 31010, why we should be using the ISO 31010? The organization manages risk in an ad hoc manner, relying on historical information. You remember one of the principles is what? Best available information, right? So not only any organization will use the historical information, that itself is not sufficient. Okay, so this particular standard 31010, it helps to treat the risk so that risk assessment will be cost effective. Yeah, so there are so many techniques are available. By going through this standard ISO 31010 will help any organization to arrive at most optimal technique for that particular organization, so that it can be very cost effective for that particular organization to achieve what? To overcome any particular risk, or indirectly or directly, you can say achieving the objectives of the organization, right? Now, where the risk techniques can be used? One is to provide the structured information to support the decision and actions where there is uncertainty, to clarify the implication of assumption on achievement of the objectives, then to compare multiple options, maybe various systems or technologies, approaches, and where there is a multifaceted uncertainty around each option. And also, it helps in achieving the strategic and operational objectives. It helps to determine an organization risk criteria, such as risk limits, risk appetite, or risk-bearing capacity, to take into account when setting or reviewing the priorities, and also, most importantly, to recognize and understand the risk, including risk that could have extreme outcomes. So when we look at a couple of techniques, what we'll be going to discuss in further slides, you'll be able to appreciate it. Yeah, and some more techniques where it can be used to recognize and exploit opportunities more successfully, identify effective and efficient risk treatment actions, determine the modifying effect of proposed risk treatments, including any change in the nature and magnitude of the risk, and most importantly, we should never forget, learn from failure, and also equally important, learn from the successes in order to improve the way risks are managed. And we all know any organization will always have to fulfill the requirements of the regulatory requirement. That means a particular organization is located in any particular country. So that particular country will have certain legal and regulatory requirements, and it has to be fulfilled by the organization. Otherwise, there will be a risk from the government authorities, and it will be a indirect reputational impact for that particular organization. Yeah. So these are some of the instances where the risk techniques can be used. So now, having slightly understood what are the facets of this ISO 31010, where this risk technique can be used, We'll just get into a small poll again. Why to use risk assessment techniques? Is it related to the understanding issues of the organization, or promoting the cost effectiveness, or risk management articulation, or to identify the risk source? And just to now understand how these particular risk techniques will be useful to any organization, I will just take small poll. Yeah, a small quiz rather. I request Prashant to put the polling to get the answers from the various people. Over to Mr. Prashant.
Thank you, Mr. Jayatirtha. The poll is already on. Thank you everyone for participating. Okay, we have 30 more seconds. I can see only 65% people have voted. May I request rest of you guys to please poll. We are just giving some more time in case if anybody is interested, because I can see only 78% people have voted so far. So let's wait for 30 seconds more. Okay, so as of now, we are closing the poll. You know that 36% people think that risk assessment technique can be is an identification of risk source, followed by 24% who thinks that risk management articulation, again followed by 21% who thinks that understanding issues of the organization, and the last one is 19% think that promoting cost effectiveness. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. I'm handing over to Mr. Jayatirtha to take it forward.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Prashant, for helping. Thanks to all the participants for having participated in the quiz. The right answer is to promote the cost effectiveness. The risk assessment technique have to be used. The class number 7.2 of ISO 31010 states you will be able to avoid constraints on time, other resources, that is, it could be the effort, or how to make sure this particular assessment is easier. So it will help you in at a very less time frame with less effort. You can able to do the risk assessment. There are totally 41 techniques that is addressed in ISO 31010. That is the reason why in the middle of a discussion I said there is a beautiful standard ISO 31010 to help the organization to perform the risk assessment. I think understanding the issues is to designing the particular risk management framework. So that means you have to identify the external context and internal context, the factors related to that. It will help you. The risk management articulation is to communicate the importance of the risk management framework in the organization, and the risk source is the origin of the risk. It could be related to the competition, or it could be related to, let us say, some incidents that have taken place already, or maybe some, let us say, some other price-related issues. The correct answer is promoting the cost effectiveness. that is in fact number 7.2 of ISO 31010. Okay? Thank you very much for participating in the discussion on rather this on the particular usage of the risk assessment technique. So how many techniques? There are totally more than 41 techniques are listed in ISO 31010. There are totally 94 books, more than 94 books prescribed by the standard as a reference. It's a beautiful standard. I repeat it once again, of that lot of knowledge that is embedded in this standard, which will going to really help many organizations to embark on this risk management framework designing, later on addressing all the risk that is identified, then further treatment related based on the assessment. Yeah. So how to do the technique selection? I'll not go through the entire list here. It depends on the purpose of the assessment, the needs of the stakeholders, and legal and regulatory requirement. Then time availability. We understood that it is an effectiveness is related to the cost, which will brings in on any organization improvement to avoid any unnecessary spending resources because this ISO 31010 help to arrive at the cost effectiveness scenario. And also it depends upon the complexity of the situation, and it also depends upon the expertise. I again mention it is a communication and consultation. You have to empathize with the people, how you do it. So taking their feedback and making sure that they are in line with the requirement of the risk management framework of the organization, and they are adding the value to the organization by following these techniques. So how to take decision for risk assessment technique? In the simplest case, where there is nothing new or unusual about any situation, risk is well understood with no major stakeholder implication. Whereas for complex challenging issues where there is high uncertainty and little experience and a lot of divergent views, in these cases, the multiple techniques to be used to gain a understanding of the risk with judgment based on what? One is the internal issues and external issues, of course, the factors, and the factors may be societal issues or maybe views from the stakeholders. Yeah. So I have given some small example here. One is a toxicological risk assessment. This is one of the techniques taken out from the standard. This is very much applicable today, the COVID-19 situation. I think all of us are reading newspaper in one or the other occasion. I think the latest information on COVID-19 is it is already tried out in some country. They have to take a dose of about 0.3 ml to arrest this COVID-19. So that means if you look at here, there is x-axis talks about the dosage, the y-axis talks about the observed response. Yeah, and x-axis you can say NOEL and no AEL. Yeah, NOEL means no observable effect level, and no AEL, no observable adverse effect level. So that means no observable adverse effect level is 0.29 on the particular graph, and that is adverse response threshold you can see on the y-axis. Anything beyond 0.3, it will have an impact on the dosage. So this is one of the technique that is I have taken out from ISO 31010. This is called toxicological risk assessment. Another technique would be, all of you or most of you are familiarized with cause and effect diagram, the Ishikawa diagram. You find an effect, and for that effect, there are so many main causes. There are so many sub causes will lead to an effect. That is another risk assessment technique that is mentioned in the particular standard. And what are those main causes? Maybe related to men, or women, or machine, material, right? Or even methods, or even money. Yeah. So I'm just quoting some example. We can go into the detail possibly later on. And event tree analysis. I think you can see, let us say a scenario, there is an explosion, whether the start of the fire, yes, in 0.8 situation out of in a scale of 0 to 1, no fire observed in 0.2 situation. Again, sprinkler system works, yes, in 0.99 of the situation, or no, that is the sprinkler system is not working in 0.01 situation. Yeah. Fire alarm is activated. Yes, if the sprinkler system works, either fire alarm may get activated or may not get activated. So what is the outcome? Controlled fire with alarm or controlled fire with no alarm. Yeah. Another situation is sprinkler system does not work. So that means fire alarm is activated. In most of the situation, uncontrolled fire with alarm, and of course, in 0.001 situation, uncontrolled fire with no alarm. Yeah, this is an event tree analysis. I'll not go into the detail. Then fault tree analysis, a failed automatic startup of emergency generator, right? On one side, no startup signal. The other one is a diesel generator fault. In fact, there are so many symbols given. A gate fault occurs if all the input events true. There is a symbol. And there is another symbol, gate fault occurs if any or input events is true. Then base event, no further analysis is required. And the diamond shape symbol, events not analyzed further at this time. Then rectangle, wherever you come across the rectangle symbol, events which have to be further analyzed. And there is a triangle with A notification inside, event analyzed at point A on a different page, right? And this is another technique that is addressed in ISO 31010. So what are the key challenges for effective risk management? One is top management support, internal communication, fragmented risk systems, risk measurement, then dispersed global operations, and a lot of changes here and there, legal and regulatory requirements, and of course, third-party risk. Suppliers are the extended arm of any organization. So there are so many risks brought into the organization by suppliers as well. So you have to address and take the confidence of the suppliers as well. Then risk prioritization over time. Okay. Then benefits for whom? Who all get benefited? This particular ISO 31000 and 31010 useful for risk managers and organization required to conduct risk assessment for compliance to conformance purpose. Anyone involved in assessing the risk for developing guidance documents? Yeah, as an organization, you have to come up with a documentation, right, on the risk management process. Yeah, this will be helpful to you, 31000 and 31010. And most importantly, people who make decisions. Yeah. So I think that's all I thought I should talk about it. I can still talk more about it, but because of the paucity of time, and also give opportunity for people to ask questions so that we'll try to answer those questions. Over to all of you, please. Yeah. Any questions from anybody, please?
There are a few questions people have raised, so I'm going to announce this one by one so that everybody can be benefited. And Mr. Jyotirtha, may I request if you can answer them? Okay.
Sure.
So there's there was a question from Miss Desai. She wants to know, I would like to understand how to objectify impact and probability rating for a particular risk.
Yeah, a very good question. You all just now we discussed about the process. That means, as an organization, you have to identify the risk. Once having identified the risk, you will have the likelihood scale and the impact scale. So we have many examples of the various scales or risk matrix. we come across the easy, simple 3x3 matrix. Another one is 5x4 matrix. The other one could be 5x5 matrix. So whenever you come across such quantification of the risk, naturally risk is the product of impact and likelihood. No, so you have to define the scale for impact, and also you have to define the scale for likelihood also. So what is the just to understand easily, we will have a 3-point scale. Let us say low, medium, high impact. So that means if an impact occurs, let us say a $1 million loss to the company, if at all it happens, then it's a high risk. If it is less than, let us say, $1 lakh, it is a medium risk. Or if it's, let us say, it is less than $5,000, it is a low risk for me. So that is on the impact front. On the likelihood front, this particular risk which you have identified, what is the likelihood it will occur? If it is low, if it happens once in a year, or if it happens once in 5 years, I'm just giving examples. If it happens once in 5 years, it is medium. If it happens in, let us say, once in 10 years, it is high likelihood. So the risk is the product of the impact and the likelihood on a simple 3x3 scale. So once you multiply the impact and the likelihood, you arrive at the value. You would have already defined the categorization of the risk as well as a part of the risk evaluation. Let us say if it is within a scale of 1 to 3, let us assume that we'll give value of 1 to low, value of 2 to medium, value of 3 to high, for both for impact and the likelihood. The maximum value could be 9 and the minimum value is 1. So I will define a risk scale. If it is between 1 to 3, 1, 2 or 3, it is low. If it is between 4 to 6, it is medium risk. And if it is between 7 and 8, and of course 9, it is high risk. So that means I will get to know, so what is the level of risk once you arrive at the evaluation, then I will put in the 3 buckets so many risks, whether it is a high risk or it is a medium risk or it is a low risk. Based on that, I prioritize the activity, then I will do the treatment. Yeah, I think this is my answer. Hope Desa, I have clarified your question. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next question is from Shubhoy Mitra. He wants to know that can risk also have positive effects?
Yes, very much. Of course, when we have a particular criteria defined, we discuss best available information, right? That means we'll go by on the historical information, and also the risk is always a dynamic in nature. The risk management is always a dynamic in nature. It is not that you do it one time and leave it at that. No. So once you bring it to the particular acceptable level, risk can do occur once again. In fact, I wrongly mentioned in the morning, in the beginning of the discussion. In fact, 10 years back, in a particular city, when I went for a business continuity training, that particular city underwent a pandemic, right? So it was a flu. It is a flu, and people were impacted, and people were wearing the mask. Since some of us from a different city, we are all looking at them. Why they are wearing the mask? What is so important now? Because everybody moving around just like that. Now we realize because of the COVID-19, how important a particular mask will save the life of the individual, right? So to your specific question, yes, the risks do appear at a later point of time, and we have to be very careful about while analyzing the risk. And again, I'll take an example of COVID-19. People talking about first phase, second phase, and third phase, this coronavirus outbreak, right? because some of the countries, the cases have come down. Again, it is going up. So we have to be very informative about this scenario, and we have to put it in our risk process as well. Yeah, that's my answer is. Thank you. Yeah, hope I have answered the question. Any other question, Prashant?
Next question is from Mr. Anup Chandra. So I'm clubbing his three questions into one. I think that's a continuation of those questions. First is he wanted to know there are many Indian standards for risk analysis of different specific purpose and application. Risk analyzed by following technical standards with ISO 31010. And the last question he has asked, which is technical standard should be linked with ISO 31010.
Yeah, in fact, some of the examples I have taken here for people to understand, and also people they have already implemented. In fact, I still remember 30 years back when we were analyzing certain risks, we were using the cause and effect diagram. They also call it as Ishikawa diagram. But there are so many other techniques that are available in ISO 31010. As I was telling you, there are totally more than 41 techniques identified in the standard. They have learned it over a period of time, and they wanted to compile in a particular standard. Might have been implemented in many other organizations, having addressed those particular techniques, having got the benefit of it. The ISO, International Organization for Standardization, imbibed this aspect, and they have compiled in the standard. Yes, some of the standard which is already practiced earlier, they have put it in ISO 31010, and nevertheless, some of the best practices that have been adopted in many organizations world over, they have taken the input and they have put it in ISO 31010. Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, next question is there from Mr. Bashartullah. He wants to know, does ISO 31000 course or training includes ISO 31010 also?
Yeah, that is a good question. ISO 31010, we have a master class training running for ISO 31000 and ISO 31010. It is a 5-day program, and it is very much available from BSI, and many people having benefited out of this master class. They are taking forward this particular concept in their organization. Yes. Yes.
The next question is from Dr. S.P. Srinivas. He wants to know, so can you refer those 41 techniques or list out the one which you have mentioned during your presentation? Is there any article on which he can go through? And the third one is BIA is one of the risk management techniques?
Yes, the question is, the answer is yes. For the question, business impact analysis is one of the techniques that is addressed in ISO 31010. I cannot list out all these techniques here because it is a 130-page document. Yeah, a lot of knowledge in the standard that is captured, and though not able to list all the techniques, I have listed few techniques here. But our masterclass will really help the people to take this. One is the understanding and implementation in their own organization. That is the main reason ISO has compiled all these techniques and put it in the standard as ISO 31010. Yes, please.
There is a question from Grishma Desai. She wants to know that should RPN number have a threshold?
What is the question? Can you please come again, Prashant?
Should RPN number have a threshold?
Yeah, RPN number is a very good question. It is a risk priority number. which is a part of your FMEA method, failure mode effect analysis. Yes, there is a RPN is a product of SOD. I think Madam knows about it. It is severity, occurrence, and detection. In a scale of 1 to 10, severity, occurrence 1 to 10, occurrence and detection in 1 to 10. So there is always a threshold mentioned, because in my own industry experience, my customer used to put the RPN as 100, which is very, very difficult to achieve. But we put our thought process in line with the customer requirement. In some instances, we did achieve it, the RPN number of 100, but certain times it used to go beyond certain limits. Yeah, the threshold, it depends from organization to organization, and again, it depends on the failure modes, because you all know there are two types of failure mode. One is the design FMEA, the other one is a process FMEA. Design FMEA and process FMEA will have two different, though methodology is same, the acceptance may be different depending upon the type of product or processes. Yes.
Okay, next question is from Hemant Rajput. And after this question, I think we should take just one more, because we are already 11 minutes past. So I hope that rest of the questions you would be able to answer on one-to-one basis. So Mr. Hemant Rajput has asked, what is the major difference between ISO 22301 and 31000? Should an organization following 22301 migrate to ISO 2 risk management?
No. ISO 22301 is a business continuity management system standard. There's 2019 version. Just last year they have released the revised version, and ISO 31000 on the risk management framework. For the benefit of user, the class number 6.1 in ISO 22301 2019 addresses the requirement of risk and opportunity to be now implemented in the organization through a process. They cross-refer ISO 31000 standard, how to do this particular risk management and further risk assessment in any organization. They refer to ISO 31000. In fact, to be very clear on this, any management system standard nowadays follow HLS structure, right? It could be ISO 9K, it could be 27K, it could be 22301, it could be, let us say, 14,000, or it could be ISO 20,000. Everybody, every standard refers in class number 6.1 the reference to ISO 31000. It is not that you should migrate from 22301 to 31000. 31000 will help the organization to identify the business continuity risk and how to help in arriving at the risk management process, and how we can reduce the risk to an acceptable level. ISO 31000 will help the organization to bring it to the acceptable level of business continuity risk. It is not the elimination, it is actually complementing ISO 22301 from ISO 31000 on risk management. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, this is the last question, which is asked from Mr. Murli. He wants to know a bit on ALARP. About your views.
Hello.
Yes, he has asked, would you like to share your valuable view on ALARP? ALARP.
ALARP, right?
Yes.
Yes. This ALARP is one of the technique that is used in the standard. It talks about how best the risk have to be identified and how to mitigate the risk to an acceptable level through this technique. This is one of the technique in ISO 31010. It takes maybe about 10-15 minutes to explain this ALARP process. Maybe I can give the information at a later point of time. This is one of the risks that is addressed in ISO 31010. Yes.
There is a question from Shubmoy Mitra. He wants to know how is FEMA different from risk assessment? Are they interchangeable? Okay, this is the last question.
Yeah, that is a good question. This failure mode effect analysis or cause and effect diagram or Pareto diagram or fault tree analysis or this toxicological type of risk assessment, it depends upon the any product or services a particular organization is having. Yeah, based on that, you have to identify the technique. So we understood very clearly ISO 31010 is having about 41 techniques. So depending upon, as I said, the organization products and services to arrive at a most cost effectiveness, you select the technique. Let us say a simple example. There is a particular customer dissatisfaction. Yeah. So immediately you can go for a fault tree analysis and diagnose it, for which there is no FEMA is required to be implemented. I'll take another example. There is a particular failure mode in one of the automobile, or let us say in an aircraft manufacturing, they very much use this FEMA concept. So they have several failure modes for each and product, for each and every item. So they will apply, and whenever they carry out a particular process, so they will apply design FMEA. So depending upon your product or service, you have to apply these techniques. Yes, and that is my answer.
I think we are closing now. Thank you everyone for participating. In case if we have missed anything, a few questions from Sandeep and Mr. Mohan. So I think Mr. JD will be kind enough to give reply to both of you on an individual basis. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon. Wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Bye bye. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Prashant. Wish you all good luck in all your future endeavors, and wish you happy Christmas, and wish you happy New Year as well in advance. Thanks a lot. Thanks to you, Prashant, as well, for giving a wonderful support and interfacing with all the participants effectively. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again. Wish you all a very happy New Year. Bye bye. Take care.